With WWE 2K24 right around the corner, I wanted to take a look back at the very last Ukes-driven game, WWE 2K14. To me, that is a Ukes game. I know it has the 2K license on it, but Ukes were the ones working on that game, and they made the game what it was, and that had the foundation from WWE 13 and WWE 12, and it was one of the last in the franchise. When we went to WWE 2K15, it was the next-gen console, PS4, and then we got the whole new look of it. Everything was just different about that game. 2K14 was that final mwah, and it still stands the test of time. I wanted to look back at that game and see why that is still one of the GOAT pro wrestling video games. Not just WWE, but all of pro wrestling video games, and it still is good today. When I first think of this game, I think of the roster and I think of the arenas that were in this game. If you know anything about this game, the big feature was 30 years of WrestleMania. 30 years of WrestleMania was WrestleMania 1 through 29. You got to live iconic matches. You got to go through all of them and unlock superstars and arenas from that. This is one of the only, I think it might be actually the only wrestling game that has every WrestleMania arena in it. So that in itself is very, very cool. Yes, they were still not the grand arenas. The size wasn't there, but they had every stage design that there was for WrestleMania, and that's really, really cool. The best part about it was you unlocked so many awesome legends that you could play as, and this was one of the best rosters in any pro wrestling video game. I think there's a total of 84 wrestlers, mixed legends and current superstars that were in the WWE at the time, and I would say this is one of the best rosters in a game. Again, going through all of this and getting to unlock all the arenas and those superstars made for something very, very special. Another big feature was Universe Mode, and you know that Universe Mode is what my channel grew up on, is that one mode where you could play out from month to month, show to show, get to WrestleMania from 1 year, whatever you want to do, build your custom fantasy brand, and then have the shows play out and go through that. What was cool about this is they had Rivalry Manager for the very first time in this, so you could see where the rivalries were going. But again, this just builds upon the Universe Mode in the past. I honestly would say, I know that a lot of people have said this, but WWE 12 probably has the best Universe Mode just because it feels like every match had a cutscene, which I think was great. But this one was still really, really fun. They added upon to it, again, having all those legends in it, let you do so much cool stuff with here. You can do all kinds of fantasy stuff, put these wrestlers together in one brand, have them face off, do whatever you want and go through it. Again, this was just building upon it. It was like the building blocks of the game, which was building from WWE 12, 13, back from 11, 12, 13, and then all the way to here we are. And then this is where you got that Universe Mode. So again, Universe Mode, huge thing. I think it was one of the great game modes in the franchise, and I still think it's good, but this definitely was one of the good ones with the roster being so awesome in all the arenas. You can't talk about WWE 2K14 without talking about custom stories and community creations. Community creations was just so good at the time. You could download so many characters from community creations, but not only that, you could download custom stories from community creations, which was a huge deal because community creations and custom stories hand in hand going together. Oh, it's still some of the best stuff ever. What you could do was you could go online and you could download people's created stories that they made. People could make stories with superstars that could add text. There was wacky cutscenes. There was monster trucks. People could fall off the Titantron. There was so much fun stuff in that game. And the fact that you could upload it online and people could download them, it just made for a wacky thing. Yes, there was only 10 save slots on that, but you could go on and you could delete them. You could get more. You could keep going through and through and through. I had so many created stories that I actually downloaded. I have some on my Xbox hard drive, but not a lot of the really, really good ones. There was one that was really, really good. I mean, it was WWE versus TNA. And you got to put all that together. You could just play this crazy story. And people made some really, really good stuff on it. And that was really awesome. Community creations, to me, is a feature that definitely is still standing the test of time. They have one of the best creation suites in the game, but they are lacking the creative story, the story creator mode that needs to be in the games. I think that's kind of the ultimate sandbox for the WWE games. When you can put superstars in certain situations, you can have different whether it's on a microphone, whether it's backstage, whether it's in the ring, whatever it may be, you can have them stand there and then you could type out dialogue and you could play out this story that you wanted to play out. It was really, really, really fun. They don't have it in the current games, and I don't know why. Maybe it takes a lot of time for them to do, but that is something that I would love to see, is create a story with all these different cutscenes. I think, that would be an ultimate goal for them, was to use all the cutscenes that they have from My Career, put them in here. I would love to see that, but I think that create a story is probably one of my favorite features, and the fact you could upload them and other people could download them, that is great. Yes, there was a lot of really, really bad ones, like terrible ones or like ones that are inappropriate, but I do think that create a story is probably one of my favorite features from any WWE wrestling video game, and 2K14 had it, and you could download them online. Oh, that was just the greatest. That was so much fun. I loved it so much. Please bring that back. Another really stellar feature in the game, we talk about single player game modes, it has to be the streak mode. Defend the streak and defeat the streak. I had so much fun playing that game, doing live streams on it when I was either trying to defeat the streak, where I was playing as a superstar against The Undertaker, and I was trying to speedrun it as fast as I possibly could, or defending the streak, where it was a gauntlet mode of superstars would keep coming in after you beat another superstar. You try to get to 100 superstars. I don't think I ever got up to 100 superstars playing as The Undertaker versus other people in Defend the Streak, but that was just an awesome challenge and something really, really fun to play. They had a mode called Who Got NXT in the next year's last gen console game. I don't know how to explain that. In the 2K15 last gen version, they had Who Got NXT, which again wasn't great, but it was kind of defeat the streak mode. There was a defeat the Cena mode, I would call it. But the Undertaker streak was just a very, very fun game mode, where it's this whole, it felt like its own little hub, because you go in, it's like Undertaker themed, you get to go through the streak, there's like a leaderboard, which I thought was really cool. I think it would change every week or every 2 weeks or a month or something like that, but your name would be up there if you do really good in the points and stuff. You could constantly climb that leaderboard, and then just being able to play against The Undertaker and try and defeat him, it was very, very, very hard, because you would do wake-up taunts, you would do other things, then you'd finally get to learn, okay, if I do this, I do that, then I can beat him really, really fast. And there was strategy to it, and it was very hard, and it was very fun, and it's a challenge that I think is lacking in the current games. They had it with the AJ Styles $1 million mode for that one, $1 million match one, where they had the gold AJ Styles. I thought that was really fun. It was very, very hard, and if you lost, you have to go all the way back, I believe. But honestly, the fact that defeat the streak was so much fun, and then defend the streak was even more fun. You're playing as The Undertaker in an unlimited gauntlet. I think it goes up to 100 people, and they just keep coming in after you beat them. And you get like this mode where you're just like, you're rocking it on the controller. You're like, okay, tombstone, boom, knockout, they're done. Okay, save a finisher, chokeslam, boom, last ride, boom. Man, it was so much fun. I just had so much fun playing that, and I think it made for a really, really entertaining game mode. And the fact that it was just like combined, it felt different than the rest of the game. You'd launch into it, it'd have Undertaker music, it'd be Undertaker themed, it'd talk about the streak, it'd show some of the people that faced him in the streak. It'd be like a whole thing. It was like a whole theme thing together, and it just fit, and it was perfect, and it was awesome. And that's something that you need to do. You need to make it where it's like a standalone mode where you're like locked into it, and you're like, this is fun, this is great, this is good. Defeat, defend the streak, two of my favorite modes in the entire game. If they could do something like that in the future, I would love to see it. But honestly, those were some of the best times I had in any pro wrestling video game. And I still think about it to this day. How fun were those? And I even go back and play them from time to time. I think, wow, that was a lot of fun. I talked about it a little bit, but the Creation Suite grew this year in W2K14, and we finally got 100 created superstars that we could have in the game. This was the largest to date, and it still makes for a great feature in the game. Because with community creations being what it was, you could download so many superstars. I didn't rarely created people. I just went to community creations and downloaded people, because there were so many good wrestlers that looked authentic to what they were. There was people from TNA, people from WCW, people from ECW, WWE, WWF, whatever it may be. They were all there on community creations, and you could go in and download them. And the fact that you had 100 save slots for that, I filled that up, deleted some, filled it back up again, deleted more, and filled it up again and again and again. Had the ultimate universe modes with all those created superstars, and that made for just a really fun game. I don't know if there was a feature other than expanding that they could have done that made it even more awesome, because having over 100 people, just having 100, then the 84 people that are already in the game, you have 184 people to play with. If you can't come up with some fun matches, that's it. That's it. And finally, I wanted to talk about the gameplay, because the gameplay is very, very fun here. I don't know if this is true, but I always felt like this game was sped up a little bit more. That made it seem a lot more fun. I felt like they increased the speed on the players, and then the matches were just faster, and it just felt more fun when you're playing the game. I might be off on that, but that was something that I noticed. Another thing they did was OMG moments. They added a lot more OMG moments. I think the ring break one, maybe it was in the last one, but I know they added a couple, like smashing the barricade, might have been 2K14 or maybe 2K13. I can't actually remember, but I do remember OMG modes were a huge feature, as well as like the catapult finishers and the catching finishers, where you could throw them off and then catapult them up in the air and then hit them with the tombstone or whatever it may be. But that core gameplay of 2K14, that sped up version, and then you went to 2K15 and it was slowed down and it was just not the same. Man, 2K14 got it right, and it was very, very fun. They had this weird storm. It was like a hurricane or like a tornado of all this crazy stuff put together. You had the really good gameplay, the creation stuff, the community creation, the create a story stuff, 30 years of WrestleMania, and the streak stuff. The roster included in all the WrestleMania arenas to go. Man, that just makes for a really, really good wrestling video game. I'm just smitten right now because I'm thinking about all the great times I had with that game. Honestly, W2K14 is one of the GOAT video games, and it will stand the test of time. Somehow we need to put this game, capitalize it, save it in a vault, whatever it may be. Make sure that you preserve this game, because someday this game will be lost. But if you can somehow save this, maybe you remaster it. I don't know even how you do that with the licensing of the wrestlers. I feel like there's got to be a way around it, but somehow get it going so you can play it exactly as it was in its original form and remember it for what it was, in the greatest, if not one of the greatest, wrestling video games of all time. Anyway, guys, I want to know what your thoughts are on 2K14. Did you enjoy this game? Did you hate this game? Is it one of the GOATs? Because honestly, to me, this goes down as one of the best wrestling games of all time. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave you on this video. 2K24 is coming out in a little bit, so I thought we'd look back on 2K14 and love it. Anyway, guys, as always, I'm TonyPizzaGuy. We'll see you in another video.